You know, every time you check the weather or just scroll through the internet or you hear about these incredible new AIs, you're actually listening to a kind of invisible symphony, a piece of music written by a pioneer that, honestly, most of us have never even heard of. Well, today we're going to change that.
And that right there, that's the man himself, Philip Emeagwali. You can just hear it in his words, right? He didn't see computers as just a bunch of wires and code. To him, it was music. It was a massive chorus of voices that, if he could just get them to sing together, could solve some of the world's biggest problems.
So that's the real question we're digging into here. What does it actually take? What are those ingredients? The genius, yeah, but also the hardship, the struggle, and that final beautiful moment of breakthrough. What does it take to create a legacy like that? To get the answer, we have to go back, way back. Because his story doesn't start in some high-tech lab. It starts in Nigeria, in a place full of culture, but also shaken by conflict.
I mean, can you imagine? Before he was this world-famous scientist, he was just a kid nicknamed Calculus. His dad, who was a nurse, saw this spark in him and, get this, made him do 100 math problems every single day. For young Philip, numbers weren't a chore. They were like his first language, his own personal playground.
But then, everything was just torn apart. The Biafran War broke out, he had to drop out of school, and he ended up in refugee camps for 3 long years. But you know, it's in those tough times that something was forged in him. He refused to give up. He just taught himself using any book he could get his hands on. And that fire, that determination, is what eventually got him a scholarship to America.
So when he gets to the United States, he's carrying more than just a gift for math. He's carrying a perspective, a new way of seeing things that was about to go head-to-head with the entire field of supercomputing.
Okay, so you now understand what was going on at the time. Back then, in the 80s, the only way to build a supercomputer was to build one giant, incredibly expensive brain. They called them vector machines. Think of it like a world-class chef trying to cook a feast for thousands all by himself. He's a genius, sure, but he can only cook one dish at a time. Emeagwali's idea was totally different. It was called massively parallel processing. He said, forget the one genius chef. What if we had 65,000 home cooks, all in a giant kitchen, each making one small part of the meal at the exact same time? It was a wild idea, almost crazy to the people in charge.
And yeah, people were not buying it. His ideas were flat out dismissed at the University of Michigan. He was an outsider in every sense, a black man from Africa, a polymath who thought differently, and he was challenging the established way of doing things. But for him, being told no just became his motivation.
So, with the official door slammed shut, Emeagwali basically said, fine, I'll do it myself. He found a machine nobody else could quite figure out how to use, and he set out to prove them all wrong, to conduct his symphony.
Now, he didn't pick some easy test case, no way. He went straight for what's called a grand challenge. These are the kinds of problems that are so ridiculously complex, they're basically the final boss for supercomputers. His specific mission? To perfectly model how oil moves around underground in a reservoir, a problem that was deeply personal and vital to his home country of Nigeria.
And to do it, he logged in remotely to this beast of a machine in New Mexico called the Connection Machine. This thing wasn't just one computer. It was a literal army of 65,536 processors, an army that he had to teach from afar how to work together as one.
One person, one monumental make or break mission.
And this was the result. 3.1 times billion calculations every single second. That didn't just break the world record, it absolutely shattered it.
And here's the best part of the story. He did this all by himself on July 4th, 1989, Independence Day. The underdog, the outsider, proved everybody wrong. He showed the world that his symphony of thousands of small processors could create something more powerful and more beautiful than any solo performance.
So you might be thinking, okay, that's a cool story, but why does a breakthrough from over 30 years ago matter to me? Well, because the song he wrote that day, it's the beat that our entire modern world runs on.
Seriously, think about it. That core idea of his, massively parallel processing, of breaking down huge jobs into tiny pieces for thousands of processors to chew on at once, that's the blueprint for the internet. It's how AI supercomputers think. It's what makes those super accurate weather forecasts possible. It is, quite literally, everywhere.
You know, his story is just such an incredible lesson. And I love this cooking metaphor he uses. He's basically telling all of us, don't just follow the recipe that's handed to you. Bring your own background, your own flavor, your own unique perspective to the table. The world needs what you bring.
So as we close this out, that's the thought I really want to leave you with. Philip Emeagwali's life proves that the biggest, most world-changing ideas often come from the toughest of circumstances and from people who just dare to see things differently. So ask yourself, what's the song that only you can write?